Welcome back to Perth, William. You've come from moist heat to the dry Australian heat. Welcome back.
It's not really
Moist heat.
dry. It's not dry here.
Malaysia, right?
I think when I came back, it's pretty humid as well.
Yeah, it's quite muggy here.
Yeah,
you
it-
visit your family, right, in
Yeah.
Malaysia?
So it's like 2 days. I think Saturday, I came back on a Sunday, and it was like full muggy as well. Yeah, it's pretty
True.
bad.
We've our end of February has been pretty warm, so
It's crazy. It's crazy warm. I think I skipped all the massive heat as well.
yeah. How was Malaysia?
It was hot.
Okay,
It was hot.
so I was partially correct.
It was raining, hot, humid.
Mate, you just described moist in 3 words.
Yeah.
Did you
just
see the thing in
moist.
China where like it went to negative 30 degrees in one night and it froze all the lakes with all the birds in it?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
the birds are just like, maybe we should get out of the
It
water.
like flash freeze birds in place where they are.
It's crazy. Did it die?
Yeah.
The fish underwater are like, finally,
Yeah.
chow time. These idiots.
But it's like you're hot and muggy and then maybe like 3 hours north of you there's a flash freezing at negative 30 degrees. Like that's crazy.
Pretty much.
Crazy how the world works.
I feel like it's gonna be really cold this winter in Perth.
we're getting hail pretty regularly now, right? Like
Yeah.
every year, hail.
No, I keep parking my car outside and hoping the insurance gets it. Like, come on, baby.
I had my
just
neighbor
come
like
on.
run out with like a mattress and just like
Full
throw it in his
write-off.
car and try to like defend it from the hail.
Do you remember? You might have been a bit too young, but do you remember the hailstorm that came through in like 2009?
Yes,
It was like
that
the early one, right?
That destroyed all the cars
Yeah.
in the car yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because I'm in the driving in the truck and you're higher than everyone else, you'll still see now P-platers and like people with early cars, and the top of their car just looks like a golf ball, because that's the cheapest car they could get for like a decade after.
Yeah, but during the car shortage, the hail damaged cars were like really
Yeah,
available.
great time to
yeah,
buy cheap cars. Right?
100%.
It's new. It's like it's pretty good. Condition wise and everything is good. Just that it has that cosmetic.
I was working at the bank in Joondalup, and it's right where the Gigi's is there, just across from there. It used to be the old Suncorp, and the entire roof of the building across where gym kids and stuff like that collapsed inside
Shit.
from the hail. And like, I remember we were standing because it's a bank, so there's big open windows at the front, and we're standing there, and there's like 5 of us just standing outside, just watching like the everything come down, and then all of a sudden you just see people running out of the door from the building across the road, and then running out, and then water slowly follows them out. Like not a lot, but just like obviously a burst of pipe as the roof collapses or something in the fiery section. So the water just slowly makes its way out of the building.
Jeez, that's
crazy.
dangerous.
But yeah, I remember seeing footage of like motorcyclists being like, "Oh, ow, ooh, ow, this sucks."
Yeah, not enough to like stop their day, but enough to significantly inconvenience them.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So you're in Malaysia for
2 weeks.
Lunar New Year, right?
Yeah.
The whole entire Lunar New Year.
Yeah,
It's 2 weeks.
full 15 days.
So I don't have a lot of family in Australia, so we don't do the whole 2 weeks. What is the 2 weeks like?
oh,
Do
nothing.
you get tired by the
How
second
many
week?
kilos did you put on?
Oh
The
man.
most important day is the day before the Lunar New Year.
Right. Why the day before?
The reunion dinner. That's it.
Is it a specific day every year, or does it change slightly?
It changed slightly.
Okay.
Yeah, depends on the.
You're gonna get a way better
So
perspective from
it's
William.
it's like 1 year is in January, second year is like in Feb, and then back to Feb.
Because I tried to Google it and I couldn't really figure out what was going on. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it was
Yeah.
2 different months at
Like
least.
I didn't even know about the reunion dinner because I go home every night and I'm just like, "What's up?"
You do the reunion dinner every single night.
Yeah, exactly.
So the reunion dinner is everyone comes home, and then you have the dinner, and then that's the most important one, and then the next day is where you visit the male family household.
Is
And
that a
then
Malaysian tradition?
No, it's just Chinese New Year.
Interesting.
In general, and then day 2 you visit the female
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
So you looked bad if you does it look bad if you don't go home for the dinner? Like
Oh yeah. That's like the main event, and then the day 1 is not as important as the dinner itself. So the dinner itself, main event, then day 1, day 2, and then after that is just auxiliary.
The family gathering part of Lunar New Year.
You get bonus points for how long you stick it out. Like if you're at your mum's house or a week later, you're like, you're getting bonus
Yeah,
points.
she's like, "Get out, please." The family portion of Lunar New Year is like massive, right?
So-
because it's almost a big disgrace for the family for someone not to show up.
Yeah. So the main why is it 15 days is it capped at 15 is you have 15 days for the kids to collect all the raid packets which have money in it.
Yeah, the red envelopes.
Yeah, so you have 15 days to collect as many. It's like
Your kids are farming.
it's
bro.
like going Super Mario. It's like just
Holy
hitting
shit.
Your kids are ready for bed, and you're like, no.
Did your
Off you go.
did you give out much gifts as well?
not much. I mean, it's in ringgit, so it's much lesser.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he was like, I didn't get many gifts for my family, but I got myself a new watch.
he gets his kid to hand him a red envelope with just a little chunky bit in it. Like, just make sure that one comes back to me, all right?
So it's
Your
crazy.
kids did all right.
Yeah,
Farmed? Got the
not
best
too bad, not too bad. They had a lot of fun. They had a lot
Food
of
was
food.
good?
Yeah, the food is good. Definitely the food is good. Food is cheap.
Did you guys get up to activities? Like as a family, do you guys go to like, I don't know, what do you guys do in Malaysia? Go to Universal? Disneyland?
No,
What?
it's nothing much to do.
Don't tell my kids there's Disneyland there.
It's just food. Pretty much, it's just food. I guess there's a like a theme park. It's like a 20th century theme park. Yeah.
As a young Povo
Is that
kid,
just a cheaper version of Disneyland?
Yeah, that's it. Cheaper version. And then we have Legoland.
see, you're already doing better than me, right? Because as a young Povo kid, it was like, my parents, we went back to China, and my dad used to tempt me, being like, if you're good, we'll go to Disneyland. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, yeah, you know what? Sick. Let's do it. And finally, at the right at the end, my dad was like, we're not going to Disneyland. We can't afford Disneyland. Dude, I got baited in. It was a month I was in China. Just
As
like,
a
what
child,
the hell,
in
guy?
your head, you're like, what did I do wrong? So was the intention he was never going to take you to Disneyland?
Yes.
It was a bait. Did you guys see the One Piece finals, the championship last week?
Wait, was it?
It was in Japan.
Okay.
It was in Japan.
Oh, right, where they make the game. Makes sense.
Yeah. So the top 16 players from like all the winners from all the nationals, the national championships were there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 16 players. I think there were
16?
from 16, I think.
So you had to qualify in each region.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. So Oceania, we have one. I think in Southeast Asia, we have 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then Japan, like maybe 10.
Whoa. I wonder if that's like where One Piece is most popular.
And then, not really. And then we have North America too. And then Latin America.
Did people win their flights
Two.
over to Japan?
Oh yeah,
as
yeah,
part
yeah.
of the
It's
thing?
all paid for. It's all paid for.
Is
So
it by like major sponsors in each country or by?
no, from Bandai itself. So Bandai paid for all the transport from your home to the airport to
It's a
the
good gig.
hotel.
Even if you get lost, I'm like, oh, it's a bit holiday.
the hotel and everything. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So the Malaysian player won the One Piece event, and second player from I think it's from Europe. Yeah, but the prices were crazy. So playmat itself, like, so you can sell it for like I think 4 or 5 grand. Yeah, just the playmat itself. Because
It's
it's only
'cause it's-
16 in the world, right?
This
you
is
think-
the first championship, right? So it's the big
No,
exciting.
no. There's a second one.
Really?
They had one last year, but it wasn't as big as this because One Piece weren't as huge then. Now it's just huge.
Do you
So-
think when a company that prints like a $3 piece of neoprene mat, when they send it off, do you think they know it's going to be $5,000?
They don't care. I mean, that's how they. I think this is how, instead of like, like Magic in a pro tour, right? They give you prize money instead of like limited cards. So there's only a certain amount of money they could give because it's out of their pocket, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But for Bandai, it's the card.
Right.
They can give you a card, but the perceived value of the card, it's up to you.
Yeah.
So it could be $50,
That's true.
$200,
But it
$200,000.
depends on how popular the game is.
Oh yes, that's right. So the more popular the game is, then the prize money is insane. So the guy is currently offered 300,000 US at the current moment. I'm not sure what's the current pricing now, but it's the last I saw was 300 grand.
For
So
his
300 grand
winner
is pretty much an entire career of a couple of pro tour players in
Yeah.
Magic.
That's why if you win 5 grand, no one's going to give you more than 5 grand for your 5 grand. But they give you a 30-cent card, and now that thing's worth 300 grand. That's
Correct.
pretty good.
He goes back to his country and buys a new house. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so a lot of people are saying like some of the Magic players who played ages, 10 years, 15 years, and don't even earn what this guy made
Yeah.
in 1 year or one event.
That's like 3 people's like annual, right?
That's
Right
crazy.
Like, at what point then do you describe One Piece as more popular than Magic the Gathering? Or is it
It
just
is not
more-
popular. It's just that I feel like because it's
there. There's a lot of eyes on the game right now.
yeah, because it's not like I say, I think before, it's not a difficult game. So it's great because it's not a difficult game, but it's hard to master again.
In the heyday of Magic, when they were doing like the Pro Tour finishes in Hawaii, I don't know how true it is, but you'd hear stories about how some poker players would get like Magic players to teach them how to play because then they could go to tournaments, and at a certain point it's like just maybe slightly more complicated poker to a degree.
Interesting.
I wonder at what point, if One Piece is easier, do you have other like competitive sportsmen like poker players and Magic players crossing over to One Piece just because the chance for like prize support is so significantly higher?
So with Magic, playing poker, like poker face, right, works. In One Piece, it does not work because you can calculate the odds.
So it's more
way
math
more
rather
of a-
than
Yeah,
just
it's
like
more
skill.
math. It's more math and the way you manage your resource in One Piece. Unlike Magic Magic is a great game, no doubt. But the problem is, if you have a great hand and you don't have lands, it's gonna be a bad
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
That's
That-
why every
that's-
card game stopped doing like
So
random chance of generating resource, right? Every game has got rid of the land system.
yeah, so RNG, Magic is like RNG. It's like if you draw God, then you win, regardless. If your opponent has God hand and no lands, and you start strip mining the person or wasteland his first land, and be like, oh, okay, cool.
I guess a
And
lot of
then
people
start.
describe that like that juggle is part of the skill, but I guess it just inherently is less fun no matter what.
But just like poker, you have to play within the random odds, right? You're
Yeah.
playing within the
There's
chances.
no skill if you don't have lands.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, true. I
it's-
guess there's no way to go overcome that.
Yeah, there's no way to overcome that. Like, oh, maybe I could poker my way through. Like, if I cheat him, like, I got lands in my hand. Like, dude, if you have lands, you play it already,
You're just slowly
right?
discarding one card a turn, not doing anything. You're like, oh, you might have something.
Yeah, maybe Reanimator, you know? He's going to discard one
If
card.
I do like that. So the winner was from Malaysia, right?
Correct.
And if I know Asian households, I bet he goes back home to his parents and he's like, I proved you guys wrong. Got him.
I mean,
comes
His
home
dad
with-
still doesn't approve at all.
He
He's-
comes home
he's
with
been
300
winning.
grand. It's like, I got it. It's possible.
he's been winning, like, all the Asian tournaments as well. So Asian tournaments
So
are
he's an
very
actual
top
like,
heavy.
proper good player.
So they've been winning, like, 20, 30 grand.
Consistently.
Yeah, consistently. And that's Australian dollars as well. So in your
pretty
currency,
good.
it's about
It's pretty
100
good.
grand. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, they have been winning stuff. So I think he's pretty stable in that. But One Piece has brought a lot of people, or changed a lot of people's lives, I could say, due to the amount of payout they're giving. Like,
This
people have been paying Magic, like, ages, right? For even like Australia regionals and stuff. And you could be playing for 5 years, and max you could win probably is 5.
most
Yeah.
long-term Magic players, they live off Magic via the sponsors, right? Rather than the prize money.
So I wonder where does that disparity come from? Like, is Bandai itself just putting up way more money? And how come they have more money to deal with if Magic's technically a larger game? Why don't...
No,
like, you know
Bandai
what I mean?
has put in zero prize money.
I think it's actually more of a, there's just a lot more hype going in. And like Magic's been around for a very long time.
So it's much more like player driven, where all the finance of the prize support that they want to buy off them is coming straight
correct.
from the
So,
community.
like, I think I said it before in our like casual conversations. Like, the card value, it is very important. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, every card should be cheap, easy, accessible. Yeah, it's fine if it's cheap, but if your TCG has no value, then
Absolutely.
there's just no point.
It's a paradox,
Yeah.
right? You get people that want cheaper cards, but then will crack a pack and then complain that the card's too cheap inside.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to have a balance there, right?
That's right. So One Piece has that value to it. So the promos, the alternate arts are worth a ton of money, and of course the non-alternate art are very entry level pricing. So it's like, it's affordable. You can still get it. Like, there's no like, if you open a pack, it's just trash. Everything has some value to it. If you go to a tournament or you go to a weekly event, there's some money to it. So it's like there's net positive for everyone. So it just encourages people to play the game and have some gain on it instead of just negative value every week.
I think in store, like, we've seen a few people win the tournament for the week, like the winner box, and then turn around and sell that box straight to another player for more money than we would technically be selling it for in store. So it's like, clearly for someone who even just comes casually, they have an opportunity to walk away with like $300-400 just straight off the bat.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. The value of the card game is so important that like it's a drive. It's a drive for players to play. Like, yeah, the game has to be fun, number one, of course. Number two, it has to have value. If the game is fun, no value, people is like, I don't want to spend $200 and then, lose $200.
Part of a card game is the collectability of it, right? You have to maintain value in the cards, so people feel like they're getting something out of it, out of their collection, out of collecting the cards. And when they crack a pack, they will get their values worth.
Correct.
So people want to play the game, and they say it's just a game, but it's also like a financial investment for people, right? You are spending money to buy a deck, and eventually you want that deck to still be worth something, right?
I guess the question comes in: does Magic see the popularity and the like how well it's done, and do they start taking things away from that, and deciding to try and follow that?
I think
trend?
Magic already is kind of, though, because they're shifting away a lot of their focus onto alternate arts and like collectible variants of cards, right? And especially going forward, from what I've heard from our distributor, they're reducing the amount of collector boosters they're doing, right? So they're trying to drive more scarcity in the alternate arts and the collectible versions of the cards, while the regular versions of the cards, just like One Piece, are pretty accessible. So for the regular person, they can go out and buy the regular card for, say, $5, but the person that wants to go out and build their commander deck can spend $30.
True.
So
I guess
I
it's a
think
good
it's
way
a
to
healthier, sustainable future, but it can't please everyone still. Because a lot of people still want the $30 version of the card. So
I wonder if that's a good way for them to compete against like printing, because a lot of people print their own cards and just play it by themselves.
Correct.
I guess if the base level of the basic card is absolutely dumped to a minimum, and all the values in the high-end shiny, alternate, because Magic does a lot with trying different versions of foiling and like how they put the spreads on top of the cards. So I wonder if, that all the value comes from those cards, and then they don't care if people are printing their own cards or doing their own thing at a very base level, if all the value ends up being in that top end anyway.
Well, you make a good point, right? Because I think Wizards of the Coast just recently did a set, like there's 4 special version brainstorms that was given away as a Secret Lair championship prize, right? It was like exclusively only 4 of these were ever made.
Yeah.
And I think people were selling them for like $15,000. There's a store in the US that was able to get all 4 of them, and they're selling the set for...
Is that the one with the sticker note price?
it was a post-it note sticker in a booth in MagicCon Chicago selling for $400,000, right? For 4 brainstorms. And the comments, you get your usual people being like, it's just a piece of paper, I can print it out on a piece of cardboard, and that's totally fine. But you have to realize that the $400,000 price tag and that collectability of the 4 brainstorms is for a very specific person, right?
Yeah, exactly. The collector's going to come along. They're not going to think about the opinion of 99% of other people. If that's what they want, and they'll come through and grab it.
So, like, when people say that they want, like, the ultimate budget Magic player could just go out and print a deck. We've noticed, like, that's very rare. People still want the cards. And part of wanting the cards is to collect the cards, or the tangibility of playing with something real.
Well, I've also noticed especially over the last few years, some players that I've known for a decade who are on the more budget side, even they are picking up pre-con commander decks because they've done so well at both making them better and like having like a decent price on them. So instead of having to go to your like print shop like Officeworks and printing it all out and cutting it up and then putting in sleeves, it's almost cheaper just now to spend $70 on deck and pick it up and go play with it straight away.
From my perspective as well, there's a significant portion of Magic players, the tabletop casual, like weekender players, that never upgrade a deck. They'll just come through, they'll buy a couple Commander decks, and they'll just jam games with their mates. I think that's actually where Commander's starting to settle as well, where Commander's starting to settle more as they continue to support it via precons. It's just for like the dad and his 3 mates. It's going to come through, buy a precon. They don't really care about singles too much. They just like the idea of like Lord of the Rings, or they like the idea of Fallout. They're just going to go out and play. So it's just like a board game, but not to, dissuade the people that really want to customize their decks too.
No, I agree. So. I think it's quite clear as well that those decks are quite often tested with each other as well. So, encapsulated situation, they play a lot better together. Like the Lord of the Rings were really good for that. It's like they were all pretty well meted out for each other. You play them together, and it's like I said, a perfect little board game, but it allows those people that want to take it a little bit further and do extra with it to do that if they want to. But there's probably a huge slew of people that are never going to bother to do that. Like that seems more effort than it's worth it to them.
Well, the story, William, you made of the $300,000 like championship One Piece card, it reminds me a lot of like historically collectability wise of like card games, right? So like I'll tell a story about like the first ever Yu-Gi-Oh championships they ever did, right?
Yeah.
The winner won a special like metal engraved Blackluster soldier. it's technically a bad card. You can't really play it, but it was iconic for the set one. He won a medal, like played a Blackluster Soldier. It got lost for like, I don't know how many years, a decade probably, and it finally came back out of like hidden from somewhere, and it sold for $2 million.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah. So like once again,
$2 million.
He lost it.
Well, I wonder.
Jeez.
I wonder if that something like that helps the $300,000 card become more valuable because someone's like, well, if I can store this for 10 years, maybe
Yeah.
this is worth $2 million then, and you can
That's-
make more.
Well, that's a problem, right? With this kind of games is you don't know the longevity of it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like Magic has shown its longevity, so you know like this card you can keep for another 10 years. It probably will survive. Magic is like 30 plus years old, so you got that history, and you know that assurance that it's gonna last.
I'd say that's like any gamble with any card. So like when you have like sports cards is probably the best for it.
Correct.
You have collectors will collect every player because they don't know which rookie is going to be the LeBron James in 10 years.
Right.
But if they just have enough of each one, that eventually something's going to be worth it.
Right,
And the rest
but
can go to
the issue with
recyclers.
like One Piece, you don't know what's the take in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like the new Dragon Ball Fusion World is the third remake of Dragon Ball within 10 years.
Well, I would say, because I've never actually watched the anime. Like I know the anime's been going for a very long time for One Piece. Is there any situation there? Like, is there any scope at the moment where they're going to stop making them?
No, the anime is still going on. Like it's still
I
ongoing.
think the writer's still writing for them.
Yeah.
So like if the show can continue on and the card game can continue on with it being popular, like I would say One Piece is already more popular now than any of the previous Dragon Ball Z
Correct.
things. Maybe not as much as the show, but definitely as much as the card game for sure.
I argue that One Piece is almost as big as Dragon Ball as a show.
Maybe that's my Australian non-anime version of it because I would see Dragon Ball
One
Z
Piece
on the TV
is
in the morning. You know.
One Piece is modern. Dragon Ball is old school.
Yeah.
So One Piece has a wider audience because it's modern. Like Dragon Ball is like if you ask someone like in their 20s, like not a lot of people would know Dragon Ball, but most people would know One Piece.
Yeah.
Netflix is helping a lot, right?
Yeah, definitely. But Dragon Ball it's very, very old school.
Yeah.
So it's like a classic. We can call it a classic. Like
I guess it's all that gamble, right? It's like the players, so the guy who can afford to spend $300,000 on a One Piece single card, he'd be like, look, this is a potential gamble. I might never make my money back on this, but I also could. And I'm sure that there's a Digimon player out there who's like, look, I don't have $300,000, but I do have $200. So I'm going to collect these cards, and hopefully in the future that'll pay off as well. It's less likely, but the risk to reward is also different as well. You
The
know what I mean?
Digimon thing confuses me because it's like not to bag on people that really enjoy Digimon, but it's like it's got to be so hard for a Digimon card game to exist, like coexist alongside Pokemon.
Yeah, true.
I would like Magic to come back. It's just that they really have to change a couple of stuff.
I still think Magic's bigger than ever, right? Because I still see like steady growth.
Oh,
It's just
definitely,
in a
definitely.
separate sector
It's
now.
just that
And different people.
like
What-
you still same people's playing it. That's the problem. You don't grow.
Oh, we've definitely seen growth.
Yeah?
Like on our Thursday night, sometimes I come in and it's a whole like half the people there are faces we've never seen before.
That's great. I mean, like for Commander,
We've also seen quite a big uptick in like partners and females coming through playing as well, which is
Yeah.
a pretty healthy version of a
I'm
game.
talking about like in competitive scene itself.
Oh,
like,
yeah, no.
Like Pioneer,
Do you know
Standard.
It's funny? I've had at least 2 customers, I don't know about you, in the past probably 4 or 5 weeks, where they come in and they're like, oh, is there like, I play Commander at home with my mates, like I'm kind of looking for a different way to play Magic, like, is there anything there? So these players who only play Commander and now are looking for something different. And it's funny, like obviously Commander was the tertiary thing along the side that people would play casually, and now for some players it's the only thing they know, and they're looking for a more competitive way to play Magic. And to them, they're like, "Well, we don't see anything else out there. There's no a lot of events running for those people specifically."
Oh, we have a 7 point still, right? In Autobots?
Yeah, I would say
So
that
and
if
so.
you're a casual Commander player with a $70 deck, the jump to Highlander is that's a big stretch. You know what I mean?
It's still the same. Okay, if you go to Standard, if you need 4 Sheldreds, like $400.
Well,
Right.
I guess that's where it's like somebody coming and asking that question, like, is there have you got one-on-one tournaments going on? I don't think in their mind they're quite prepared for what that difference
Yeah,
is.
there's
exactly.
a slow, progressive jump, right? Someone has to. Usually, what happens is someone starts with Commander and they buy a $70 pre-con because that's like not that's not a significant amount of money for anyone really. It's as someone slowly plays Commander and finds more personal investment in the game, that's when they're willing to put more financial investment, and
Correct.
slowly maybe they make the jump. The jump to a Highlander deck from $70 to say theoretically $600 is, whoa.
Not really. I gotta correct you on that. Like a lot of competitive Highlander decks now are pretty affordable now because of all the reprints.
Yeah.
So
Depending on the card, right?
If you
Mono
play
white,
the
Boros.
yeah, that's right. If you play a mono white 8-point deck with no reserve list, it's cheap. It's really
it's still
cheap.
probably going to be $400.
Well, it's going to be the same as any
I still
one-on-one though.
Yeah, pay $400 over like $6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you let's take it for example. Let's play standard, which is the main
The
format,
tricky
right?
thing is, I think paper standard. Let's be honest, guys. Paper standard is all arena.
Does it exist any?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In WA, is there somebody running standard?
Yeah, still there is
I think
because
more
most of your
mechanics still
regionals,
do.
your regionals are still standard, pioneer, modern.
But it's the same faces you always see playing standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying that in cost terms, the standard is not cheap.
Maybe the marketing around that needs to be better. Like from Wizards itself being like, hey, this exists, that you should give it a crack.
For Wizards though, I don't know if there's significant enough of a reason for them to really care.
Sure.
Because you take the average person going into Magic, right? Let's say they do want to play standard. They're going into Magic to play standard. They come to a game store and more likely than not, they're going to be playing against enfranchised standard players. The kid's probably going to go like 0-4 and it's like not have a great time. Maybe he has a great time. Maybe meet some people. Maybe they don't. You never know, right? You're risking it. But they go on arena, they play, they make whatever deck they have, and it's significantly cheaper to play on arena as well. And as well, it's on demand. He can just play before going to bed. He doesn't have to set a time for it. He can play whenever he wants. And arena also has matchmaking. So if you're a less skilled player, you just can get paired against other less skilled players and have a better time rather
That's
than.
very true.
So the game, it's encouraging you to play against people of your skill level. So you have this whole idea of.
Very true.
I guess I've
like
heard the same
balanced
thing from the
games.
drafters where they're, we've been trying to get drafts to fire consistently here for a while and it's just not kind of happening at the moment.
Yeah.
But a lot of the drafters saying it's like, I can jump on a draft when I want, and if I'm bored, I just log out. I don't feel guilty for like leaving halfway through a draft, right? So
Yeah.
And drafters in person right now are people that have been drafting for like 4 or 5+ years. You got, someone comes down for the first time, gives draft a try. It's a lot.
yeah, it probably is.
Only a very specific. Not saying there isn't people. Some people are. Some people love the idea of taking a challenge, taking it on, and like learning. But for the average person, they always say, "I don't think I'm ready for it yet," or "I don't think I'm good enough yet."
Yeah.
And it's like, if that's the mindset that most people have, how do you expect them to ever come to a
No,
high
you
competitive
just start like, it's beginner friendly.
Well, that's what I say, right? That's what I say.
When
But most
I'm
people
on-
are intimidated by the idea.
Because I'm never working that Thursday night, it's mostly Kang. I will then tell them, I say, if you come down, I'll get us to be potted together and I'll play with you as like the store owner and I can walk you through it and get you through that. Kang doesn't really have that option because
Correct.
he's going to be doing his thing. But maybe that is something we talk about. Like, just let me know if you've mentioned to someone like that. So that way on that Thursday, I can come and expect to maybe playing with like a pot of new players. And that might be a good brokerage way for them to come in, see the rules and the bingo side of it and maybe ease their way in a little bit. Because it's funny, over the years now, I've spoken to a few of my friends, and it always happens with Warhammer the same. I've had a mate for 10 years, and they're like, they're like, oh, I've been playing with this like Magic at home. Like, I know you like do stuff with it. I'm like, yeah, I do stuff with it. So it's like, I might have known this guy for like 5 years before he mentions that he plays Magic as well, but he doesn't want to come down to a store because it's like a bit maybe of a daunting thing, or they don't want to come in and I don't know, make a fool of themselves or something. But I think it's getting over that mental idea that it's, half the people here don't really know what they're doing anyway. So it's okay to come down and just have a crack, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can manage the pot yourself. Like, just pad them up with.
You don't feel too bad as well if you're losing Commander. You've got 3 other people you're losing with.
That's the best part about Commander.
2
You
others.
can flop around. It is different though. It's like I think about this a fair bit with as being in the community and like a store owner. It's never advantage of me to like hardcore win a game ever.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind winning, but it's like it's never a good if someone else has a bad time, that's never ever a good situation to be in because it'll like look bad for the store and for me and like especially if they're a new player, they'll come down like why would I come back here if this guy's gonna the owner's gonna come in and smash me the first time. So I'm always okay with losing. I always have I can happily lose every single game and never be upset with it. And that's probably a very singular situation that most players aren't in. Like if they come down, they never win. Maybe they are having a bad time. You know what I mean? Whereas like for me, it's more of an acceptable situation to come out of it. So it's like it's hard to like put myself in other people's shoes sometimes, where you try to think about what are they trying to get out of it when I'm always doing the opposite essentially.
I think that's also singularly the type of mindset you can only have in Commander.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, agree. definitely.
Because there's so much more facets of Commander, right? The creative, the deck building, the social,
Yeah.
rather than you sit in front of someone and you're there to win.
Yeah.
Right.
You can be the
is-
best player in the world, but if the player onto your left and the player to his left is going to be doing some goofy stuff, like you can't account for no matter what
Yeah.
they're doing, right? You can be like, as one-on-one, you can always be like, all right, I'm going to, I've got to be ahead of this guy and think about what he's doing and predict what he's doing, but you can't do that 3 times. By the time it comes back around to you, the things change 4 times. So
That's right. I always play Commander. Like, if I'm gonna kill the board, I will do it to everyone.
Yeah.
At one go. Like, everybody gets even damage, or no one gets a damage.
William builds mono green, gets a 7 mana on turn 3. William's like, I choose you to die.
yeah, and then he forces them to sit there and watch him for the next hour.
You get to watch from the sideline.
That's always the worst when you're like on the trajectory to win and you like knock someone out and then someone board wipes or something and then it's like it's like another hour and you're like, I'm so sorry, man.
You know what it is though, as well, like you never feel too bad if you're knocking out your mate though. Right? It's why Commander's such a fun tabletop social game. Because like you knock out a mate, you'd be like, suck it.
Suck
dude.
it, yeah.
So
Like if I'm with a couple of new people or something and like Connor jumps in or Graham jumps in and I'll just like smash them out of the game first. You're like, see, that's how you do that. And then you pander them for the next hour.
you got to prove to people that you still can play.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's crazy.
When you're letting like the new players win every now and then, like to show them a good time, you got to make sure that the regulars know that you still got it in you.
You working on anything? You working on any decks at the moment?
I'm trying to build a like a heavy metal deck where it's
What?
like all
How?
like it's all like heavy metal arts and stuff.
Nice.
Like that.
Right.
They did a bunch of those.
Wait.
Yeah.
Who's
so
the commander?
talking about art, I gotta stop you on that. Someone on X Twitter posted like
Is that the previous Twitter?
no,
or-
I mean
No,
like
Twitter's
reason. So Twitter X or whatever. Okay. So what they wanted is he's a competitive player. He wants to ban all alternate art and foils from competitive from Com Ariel play because it's so. His reasoning is.
I get it. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah. So it's just the image, like, you know, the Lord of the Rings, like the
Yeah.
messy
You can't
art.
read
those
Yeah,
cards, bro.
you can't read. So he's like, oh, that's similarity with this card and this card. Like, you know.
There's something like as a fast player when playing one-on-one where you can see a card quickly and you in your head you register what it is, especially when it's been the same card for the last 30 years.
Correct.
And you're like, okay, cool. And now someone plays a card, like plays Damnation, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, it's foil and you're trying to shift it in the light. You like spend 2 minutes staring at it, you're like, oh, it's a board wipe.
We could just ask, like, what card is it? Like,
Yeah.
Damnation. And then what does it do?
I guess
right?
in the pro
Yeah, but it's
scene,
when that
though,
player
you
then
gotta
looks
be
at you
snappy.
like,
In the pro scene, you got to make splits. Like you got to make decisions quickly, right? So I
Yeah.
guess you don't want to be in the situation where you have to ask your opponent what the card is.
I kind of get that in a competitive thing. I absolutely get that,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to be fast and you're like thinking your toes. You never want to mistake a card
what's
for another
funny?
card. But
You mentioned that, and then way back in the day, there was a huge like uproar in the competitive Magic scene over like Dryad Arbor. Just the
right,
art
right.
of Dryad Arbor itself. It's a creature that's also a land, right?
but it's also in the future sight border.
Yes, but when they reprinted the card for
Oh, yeah.
the foil version, it was in a regular Magic border. So there's a huge
And he
controversy
has
behind
a
players.
symbol, like a land.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like a land, but there's a small 1/1.
Oh, so people gonna like shuffle it into their lands.
Yes, correct.
Just hope
There's
for
a
the
huge
best.
controversy with players putting Dryad Arbor in their land slot because the art was so similar to a land that so much so that Wizards had to come out with an official thing saying Dryad Arbor has to be played in the creature slot. It has to be
Yeah,
played
if
in
it's
the
a
front.
creature, you have to put it on the creature.
for transparency's
Yes, fine,
sake.
yeah.
But
So
what does that mean? What about the guy who plays his lands at the top? He's like, this is what I do.
So it's if back then just that small little change of the art was
'Cause-
such an uproar. It's funny how now you have like cards that look like cereal boxes, and you have to read the
Back
rules
in my
text
day,
because
lands weren't supposed to be creatures.
and the rules text is like in the alphabet soup
Yeah.
of the cereal.
I love the Lord of the Rings ones where like the text starts at the top and it curves around a tree
Oh,
and then
man.
back around again,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there with a card like, what?
Can you imagine Fraction as well? Like, how do you read that?
Oh,
Good luck, buddy.
I've been playing for 10 plus years and I see a Praetor and I'm like, whatever.
It used to be easy. There used to be 5 Praetors.
Yeah,
I
it
could
used to
tell
be
you what
5.
Elesh Norn does, but now I can't even tell you what the 7th
There's
Elesh
like
Norn does.
there's like 3 Elish Non now. Like there's the flip Elish Non.
Yeah,
there's
it's
the
also a 5 mana white. Yeah.
There's a like a triple trigger, double trigger Elish Non, and then there's like a real Elish Non. There's something like that. So there's so many versions of it.
The amount of guys that I see playing with their like commander and it's some sort of alternate art or no texting, and then they just have their phone with the card open like on the table, and you're like, all right, guys.
Ideally, as a game, you kind of want to avoid that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, people are buying your cool alternate art, so it's like, whatever. So, I'm a big lore guy, and so like a big part of Magic for me is like the story and the ongoing lore. But I cannot, for the life of me, tell you what is happening right now.
What's happening
Nicobolas
right now?
died like 4 years ago, and I was like, oh shit, what happened?
So after the full war,
Yeah.
the whole Avengers Endgame thing, and then what happened? It's like now it's like
We're just in
mini-series?
Cowboy Land now, right?
No,
So-
we had Phyrexians came back, I think.
Yeah, and then
Now we're in Cowboy.
we have
Now we're
like
in Cowboy.
Now we're
like a murder case going on, and then what happened?
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, we have
I
the
forgot about
murder
that.
case, and then we have a cowboy coming
Karl
in.
of Manor has like scooted right over my periphery whatsoever. Like,
And then we have cowboys, and then what we have after that?
I think for a lot of people's peripheries right now, it's scooted over by the fact that Universe Beyond has so much more draw.
true.
So like, I know personally, I'm like Fallout. I'm all in on that. I don't really care about what else is coming out.
As a 33-year-old male truck driver with children, I'm pretty excited for the one with the cute little animals.
Bloomburrow.
Oh, Bloomberg.
Dude,
Yeah.
it looks so good, man.
Bloomburrow is so funny to me because I get people like you that like love the funny, like the cute, and also just like the charming.
Yeah.
Just have fun with the Gooby.
The art and stuff, and like
And
it
then-
reminds me of that. Like
yeah.
you remember that English show when you were kids, and like they were like Fox and the hair and shit. And they lived out in the countryside. I don't know, man.
And then I had
not describing it very well, but you.
I had,
It
a,
reminds
I
me
had
of
a
that.
dude come in and he was like, I hate Bloomburrow. I hate what to do with Magic. They're making it for children. And I'm like, bro, what the hell are you talking about? It's a card game.
Hey, I'm sorry, bro. This might have always been for children. It's the same guy who's like Star Wars. It's like they ruined it with Jar Jar Binks. I'm like, I don't know, man. Those furry teddy bears that defeated the Empire in the first round.
They're-
They're same thing.
So we have the cowboy Broco. Oh, sorry, not Broco anymore. Cowboy Oko.
Yeah.
He's riding on an elk now. So he creates elk and he rides on an elk.
Wow.
So in the universe of lore, he turned like another person into an elk and then rode them. The ultimate insult.
But he's not broken anymore. So
It looks pretty cool. The art style is cool.
Well-
I know.
Assassin's Creed around the corner, but no commander decks.
guess what? A new Star Wars game as well.
Star Wars
Other
Unlimited,
cards.
right?
Yeah, unlimited. Yeah.
What's the stock like coming into
It's
Australia?
actually
for
quite a
that?
few.
I mean-
we can still order it.
Is that good or is that a bad thing?
It's by Fantasy
It's better than
Flight.
the alternative, right, where you can't get it.
Isn't this the second
It's like the 12th.
remake of the game?
I've got two different versions of Star Wars TCGs from when I was a kid, just in a box somewhere.
So the problem is they don't own the IP. So yeah, it's pretty.
It's hard for any long-term gamer to support a Fantasy Flight anything. They just have such a bad reputation for getting bored and dropping something. And like I said, maybe something to do with like they didn't retain the IP, but if they'd done a good job, maybe they would have retained the IP as well. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's hard, like I personally seen a number of quite good games get dropped over the years. So what's the chance of a half-assed game getting done?
I really like Transformers though.
I like
the
turtles.
Transformers.
Kids these days,
Hey,
growing up,
Is
care
there,
about Transformers.
is there a Transformers game or you just like
no,
Transformers
there
in
is
general?
Transformers like the TCG.
Wait, Magic the Gathering had Transformers,
Oh,
bro.
fucking hell, man.
No, it's from Hasbro as well, but they can't.
Anyone listening's just like, oh, they must have edited it. Clearly, there's some sentence.
There's
missing there.
Transformers is one of those franchises which is interesting, right? Because you have
Nobody laughed at my Soundwave joke last night. I thought it was fucking funny.
I
What
appreciate
joke is that?
I was going to comment that's like, if this is the competition I got.
John made a joke about like someone building their pyramids using sound waves because it was like just a joke about like the Joe Rogan
Rogan
thing.
stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then I put a picture of like Soundwave the Transformer, and they're saying, well, if I had this guy helping, I'd build a lot of things as well. No one bloody reacted to it. Thought it was funny as.
10 years ago was like peak Transformers hype, though. You just had all the
Yeah,
the
that's
Transformer
right.
movies.
That's
There
right.
was video games coming
So
out.
yeah, the
So
TCG
surprised
was
the card game didn't really stick, but
it was
you know.
pretty good, and then it went down, and then just died.
There's just not enough to draw upon.
I love that description's like it's like as basic as it can be. Up, down. Poof.
Yeah. That's life, William.
That's how I've been feeling
You're
for 10
born,
years.
you walk, you fall over.
It's crazy, but that's something that I don't know. Like a couple of the TCG scene now, I feel that there's a couple of good TCG. Like you have like Magic, you have the One Piece, you have Fusion World, which is like the top 3, then the Pokemon top 4. These are like continuously selling out.
So as a non-anime watcher, the only animes I'd really heard of, like, I don't know if I even classify like Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z animes because they were like so westernized, and I only saw Western versions of them with like dubs, right? So before that, the only things I would ever was in my periphery is like Attack on Titan stuff. I'd never heard of One Piece before this, and now it's like now you see it like in like everywhere you go. It's these things on sale at Kmart, right? So is there other animes out there that are this large that Bandai or whoever owns it can go and look at that and be like, we just need to put a good shell with this and put marketing on that they could use? Like, is there?
They already
is
did.
One Piece the biggest, or is there other things that are bigger?
Oh, One
that they
Piece
could
is
do?
biggest right now, but like if you have Bleach,
Well,
Attack Titan, they're
Naruto
all in
was-
Weird Schwartz. That's a card game called
Weiss Schwarz.
Weiss Schwarz, so
Big in Japan.
And then
Is that a company or a brand? What's that?
it's like a card game.
I think it's Konami. Was it
Yeah,
Bandai?
Konami, and then
Yeah.
Union Arena is under Bandai. Has Bleach in it. It has Jujutsu Kaisen as well.
Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen is huge right now.
Yeah, I think Demon Slayer, I think is in it as well.
Is it
I'm
just
not
bunch
sure.
of guys doing jiu-jitsu?
I wish.
So it's like a-
kind of. It's just it's just another shonen anime. It's just another like dudes with superpowers anime.
So instead of releasing a card game on its own, it's like each set it's an anime itself.
Yeah.
Oh, so they just invented Universe Beyond and Magic's just like, oh,
Pretty much.
Yeah,
okay.
pretty
Weiss
much.
Schwarz is interesting, right? Because once again, Weiss Schwarz is a card game where just the collectability of what it's collabing is means more than the game itself. So like Weiss Schwarz is just a generic card game system, but they constantly collab with, because it comes out of Japan, right? So you constantly collab with whatever the biggest anime is at the time, or like whatever the big video game of the time is.
And you know what's the best part? With
I know
the
it almost
card
worked because
game?
I almost just bought a set just because it had something I liked in it.
True.
So,
You know what's the biggest thing with that card game? If they don't have license in your country, they can't sell it.
whoa.
Are you
Yeah.
serious? So
Yeah.
you just might miss a whole set because you
Yeah,
can't
that's
get
right.
it?
So
That's
like
actually-
Disney was
pretty
like I
funny.
think certain countries didn't get it, and then like you just don't get a set.
No shit.
Yeah. So it's licensing. It's based on there's no global, so it's like different countries have different licensing. Like you have to
think-
buy up the rights.
I think One Piece came at a good time for a card game because if
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
correctly, I think Naruto was a significantly bigger anime. Back
Which
in
one's
the day.
Naruto?
It's the one with the ninjas.
ninjas.
The Nem loves Naruto. You can ask him about it, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But like Naruto was one of the biggest animes of all time, right?
Correct.
Probably, if I was to argue, probably bigger than anything else at the
Is
time.
that the one with the kid, the bald kid with the arrow on his head?
Nah, he wears orange and he's also the nine-tailed fox.
He has like whiskers on his face.
I have no idea.
Sorry about it. But what happened was when they made the Naruto card game, it was after the show had ended. So there just
Oh.
wasn't enough traction anymore at that
See,
point.
that's a weird choice, right? Even
Yeah.
as marketing, you're like, it's everything that goes along with it which makes something popular. Like,
Correct.
Yeah, but the thing is with One Piece, right?
Oh.
I would say
You know when people were doing Area 51?
Yeah. Oh, they run.
They run?
That runs from
That's
there.
from
All
Naruto.
right, cool. I know where I'm bored.
okay. So with One Piece, right? I would say 50% of the players do not watch the anime.
Yeah. I would
Is it
say...
like, how educated is that guess? You just taking a rough guess, or you?
I mean, like the players that I met, like most of them don't watch it. They just want to play the game,
I played the game and I've never watched One Piece.
right? So like a couple
So
of
at
my
least you have
friends as
one
well
statistic
never
then.
watch. Like I don't watch. I just look at like the synopsis or like trailers and stuff. Like that's it.
You're trying to look at the main character, see which one's going to
Yeah,
be popular.
that's
What
cool.
card's going to be popular?
I mean, like that's
Oh,
it. That's
this
all I
guy
know.
died, he's
Like
out.
I read like summary stuff, and that's it. Like if you ask me like, how many episodes you watch? 0. I haven't watched a single one.
That's to me. That's pretty interesting that someone can be that like a card game based solely on characters from a show can be that popular when people haven't watched the show.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I watched the Netflix.
Like think about it in reverse. Think about how hard Magic has tried to make their characters popular, and 90% of people
Yeah.
do not care.
Well,
at
the
all.
problem with Magic is the story went like in one timeline, and then it just went multi-universe.
It's a 30-year story, so it's hard, right? It's kind of
And
scattered now.
I think they did not expect it to go so long, and each set they release is supposedly follow a story, but suddenly it just did not.
I think with card games, it's like a momentum thing, right? The people that get into One Piece and don't really care much for One Piece as an anime probably just got into the card game because the momentum of the card game, they hear how it's good, a lot of people are playing it. So realistically speaking, they could have potentially found other card games and had the same result.
Sure.
Because,
I guess popularity begets popularity.
yeah,
right?
exactly, right? You just play whatever's going to be
That's why I constantly
played.
tell people that I'm cool. Hopefully, some people will just enough people will listen to me
Yeah.
that they'll.
It was in the small print of my contract. Sign on this dotted line.
Yeah,
I'm like,
10
all
years
right.
from now, you'll look back and be like, was that my signature? I'm just-
It says William.
That's crazy.
Speaking about shows, you guys watched the new Dune?
Yeah, I love it.
my dad
I
wants
haven't
me to go
watched it
take him,
just
so I
yet.
haven't gone to see it yet.
So there's an interesting thing where there's a constant talk about how the way media is consumed, movies are consumed, is different from the past, right? Because now everyone wants to sit at home, on demand, watch on Netflix, and theaters are struggling a lot more now to get people filling seats. But I've always felt like that it's more about movies now have become more of like an event now, right? Rather than the regular like you go out and watch a show. Especially, I feel like the younger generation, they want to go watch a movie if it's a big event. Like we had the Barbie-Heimer situation, right? Where like Barbie and Oppenheimer, like
Yeah, true. And that's part of a
you know,
cultural experience to
blockbuster
go see
breaking
that, right?
numbers because it was like an event. And Dune 2 almost feels like that, where it was like people go watch it for the event of it.
That's crazy.
So-
I like the Dune itself. Like, I think the last time we spoke casually, you explained to me what's the story about.
Yeah, it's
Because
great,
I didn't
right?
read the book
Yeah.
and stuff.
People also don't seem to realize that Dune came out in like 1965.
Yeah.
And it's a huge precursor to a lot of the sci-fi universes we love, like Star Wars and Warhammer.
Massive, yeah. But he ganked it from something else, right?
Almost certainly. Well, sci-fi writers back then, I'm sure he probably ganked it from like, I don't know, Isaac, was it,
I think it's from like
Isaac Asimov, whatever.
English history like story or something that is it's
he
primarily
was heavily
from.
influenced from like religious folklore and stuff as well, right? Like everything, all the names are like very Arabic.
Because my dad on his Windows 95 had Dune, like the original Dune game on PC, and it was like 10 floppy disks. And when you'd go from certain levels, you'd have to like put the next floppy disk in. But it was essentially like Age of Empires, where you have ship like things
Yeah,
going around
yeah.
collecting Dune spice
It's called
resources.
like Emperor of Dune.
Or,
There's been a few RTS games.
it was something like I think it was like Dune Spice
Wait.
Wars or something.
I need to ask a couple questions for Kang.
Hello.
Like, because, okay, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Dune, Dune
I haven't
1,
watched
Dune
it yet,
2.
William, so I don't need to
Oh,
spoil it,
really?
bro. Well, actually, no, you can't spoil. I've read the book. I know what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
honestly, it's a book from the 60s. If you haven't read it, that's
so if
your
you,
loss.
if,
true.
you,
I know what's gonna-
if you have not watched
Unless
this
they change
movie,
the story, in which case, I think
like,
that's
too
what-
bad, okay?
right.
So, why is there warheads in Dune? Is Arrakis, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Arrakis. What do you mean? Where's there war?
Warheads.
Warheads?
Yeah, the nuclear warheads.
Because it's the future. They lay war with
No,
nuclear
no,
war.
like, why is it stored in the cave?
Oh, the Fremen? The Fremen?
No. It's the what's that? Treaties, right?
Yeah,
Treaties
Atreides.
has like a storage of like weapons in Arrakis itself.
They just have the factory contract, man. Someone's got to store them.
Like
I can't remember the exacts, so I might have to watch the movie just to
Okay,
get
okay.
refreshed.
Cool.
But like a big
Come
part,
back for next week.
True.
a big part was the Fremen were a long-time terrorist group that raided that have been constantly trying to defend Arrakis from like the colonial, like it's a heavy like colonialism like subplot with the early first Dune book. I mean, like war and weaponry are plenty, right, in that planet. So I wouldn't be surprised if like when either the Harkonnens had stored warheads or the Atreides when they came over, they stored warheads.
Right. Okay. Second question is like, so what's the whole thing is about? So after Dune 2, which is the so-called second book, right?
Yeah.
So Dune 3 is like to go to space.
No, this is actually the first book still.
Oh, really?
Just book one is, I wouldn't even describe it as a large book because it's actually quite a readable book.
Yep.
It's just that it's, in order to depict it on film, it's tricky, right? There's a
Right.
lot of certain things that are metaphorical.
It's that classic Lord of the Rings thing where like they built 3 movies out of 3 books, but there probably could have been 6 movies. So then they go
Right.
back and build The Hobbit, and that's 1 book, and they turn it into 3.
Yeah.
If you're just a person who likes Lord of the Rings, you're happy with 3. But if you're a guy who likes to complain about things on the internet, you'll complain that there's 3 Hobbit movies, right?
Right.
But whereas like I just go watch it and be like, oh, I wish there was 7 Hobbit movies. That'd be sick.
I'm honestly glad that they decided to split it up to kind of do it justice.
There's enough story there and enough ambiguity in like the book 1 of Dune to allow them to pad it out with things that are useful and look good on screen and make the
Right.
story better, because there's a lot of bits that are skipped. You just kind of move forward in time in Dune
Interesting.
1.
And they're also probably only ever going to depict book 1.
Why?
Because
Oh, really?
the subsequent books...
So what's the end for book 1?
Paul Atreides basically, becomes like emperor,
Okay.
Like he's pseudo married to Princess Irulan, so he has he's heir to the throne of the council. He has the favor of the Landstrat, and he owns Dune. He conquers Dune, and Dune is the only planet that can generate spice.
Yep.
And spice is an essential resource for space travel. So he basically becomes emperor.
It's essentially what they stopped. Like that's where GW got their
So
thing from.
Dune
Yeah.
came first or GW came first?
June came first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
the
the
emperor
whole,
of mankind is very Paul Atreides.
yes, and like like how they have the psychers, they have to follow the ship so they can
Yeah,
see.
that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, all these what's
It's the same thing.
Banner what? Those women with like psychic powers.
Ben and Gesserit.
So like they're like librarians and stuff.
Yes,
The psychers, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I think, I guess trade rules and laws in the 70s when like that was starting to come out, not quite as
The navigators in 40K are just the
Even
spacing guild.
Think about Rogue
from-
Trader, like where GW started. The
Yeah.
Rogue Trader is very close to just being that, but now a tabletop game.
Ah.
But the subsequent books get significantly more like spiritual, metaphorical, and abstract. Like just and also like it starts to really go more into the depth of
So-
the savior thing, the Messiah thing, and Paul Atreides is
Paul is like a psyker as well.
yes, because he is
The only male
He is the
Psycho.
Kwisatz Haderach, right? So what happens? The Ben and Gesserit have been manipulating. They've been using eugenics essentially. They've been using eugenics to try and create their most powerful Psycho, their most powerful Ben and Gesserit, their like Kwisatz Haderach. What happened was Jessica was supposed to keep basically the eugenics was supposed to keep going through Jessica, right, and continue on. But Jessica decided to birth a son, right, which happens to be Paul Atreides, and he was gifted with the voice that the Ben and Gesserit usually only pass to women, and he becomes the Kwisatz. It turns out he was the Kwisatz Haderach.
A lot of,
So-
I don't want to speak for everybody, but there's a major proportion of even the biggest fans who would be okay with only one book.
Yeah,
It's like, it's not just like poop
especially when the sun
poop
takes
on
over.
It's not the poop on the other books,
Yeah.
but like there's
You
I
have
would say
to-
a shift in how that story is approached and the fond memories that some people
I
have.
would say if you want a true perspective, you should read on because the future books actually go into how Paul Atreides is not a messiah. He is not a savior. Like, and also the ego really pushes on to the whole like you shouldn't put all your saving and faith into one person because humans are fallible, and Paul Atreides is. He becomes spoiler like basically a genocidal kind of like conqueror. Yeah.
I think the overall concept was that no matter if anybody in power will eventually be corrupted.
Correct.
So the more power that you
It's
get,
more the metaphor.
the more the
Yeah.
corruption becomes. And
So
it's,
what is this spice actually?
well, it's literally just spies.
Well, it's so spice is
So
a
it's like
symbol
WAP?
Spice is a symbol
Yeah.
for
It's like
anything.
the web of the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
It's like it's Arrakis.
Yeah.
So
it's
the-
like a physical rumination of that.
All right.
Your spice can be anything you want. It's,
So he-
it's a symbolic thing.
Yeah.
But spice is a mineral. It's
Essentially.
a mineral that is essential because in
So
the
you know,
far
Warpstone comes in like Games Workshop stuff, like
Yeah.
in both versions of Warhammer. It's essentially that, but in a powder form.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
they
because-
mine it and use it.
So,
and
like,
format,
the
but your
worms-
exposure to it will be
Chaos gods.
the worms are just like symbolic of like the
in the Games Workshops. They're the old ones to a degree. They're like the
right.
original that comes first, and they're not good or they're not bad, but they're all powerful. So it's then for people to come after that and decide to use it in a bad or good way.
Right.
yeah. The spice is essential because it gives, when you consume spice, you are temporarily gifted like precognition,
Yeah.
which is essential because in the far future of space travel is dangerous. When you go faster than the light, there's a chance you just hit something and explode, right? So so navigators from the Spacing Guild, they consume spice so they can basically path their way through space.
Right. So they have the technology to travel speed of light, but they just don't know how to navigate.
In the past,
Like GW stuff.
yes.
Hey.
It's very 40K.
So
If you'd have
familiar.
like two
40K.
whiteboards and a bunch of string, they would just be straight
It's like
lines.
navigation. Like, isn't that
So wait till you
Psychus,
hear
right?
about
Yes,
the
exactly.
dark age of technology in Dune and how it's basically the dark age of technology in 40K as well.
Yeah.
What is that?
Because in Dune, what happened was before there was spice, people used to use AI for everything, right? Robots, but what happened was, as humans started getting complicit living with robots and AI, the AI uprised, and humans were almost made extinct. Humans were able to eventually fight back and basically reclaim.
That's
stop the
Terminator.
AI.
Without-
Basically,
Without
Judgment
trying
Day
to
happened.
destroy like a bunch of Warhammer lore, I would say that Warhammer is more of like at the end of, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you have a bunch of fantasy nerds who are really keen on the Dune setting, but they want that Dune setting to go more war and less religious overtones or undertones, but overtones. It's like they want to go less that way. So they go, Warhammer's just a breach of the same story, essentially, right? So like Dune goes one way where it's like, tries to set a better setting and format for like religious overtones, and then GW's just like, how do we turn this into a more war format setting? Which is fine. Like it's spawned like hundreds or thousands of books and narrative along the way. It's just like where that story splits off in two kind of different directions.
Right.
And so because AI is outlawed, humans have to do everything, right? Which means navigating space, they need humans, but humans can't navigate space like the same way an AI can, so they need spies.
Right.
The ultimate plot point as well.
How many houses are there? Like treaties,
There's a lot.
Harkonnen?
They all kind of reside within what's called the Landstrad, which is like the council, like the Galaxy Council. So,
Right.
of all the people that watch the first one, you only need to worry about is Harkonnens, the Atreides, and the Emperor.
So why is the Emperor so powerful? Like, is this?
He's like the figurehead of the Landstrad. He's like the one that rules over.
He looks weak though.
It's because he kind of was
Just
in the
power.
first one. In the first one, he kind of was a little bit of a bitch.
Do you remember the first movie where he's just a guy with a fat suit with a bunch of boils on his face?
Oh no, that was Baron Harkonnen.
Oh, it was too
Yeah.
fucking
Boy,
hell.
I just rewatched.
Wait.
Rewatched the OG
Why-
David Lynch Dune.
Oh, yeah?
I think I have a soft spot and a real fondness for that movie.
Oh, maybe I
actually.
should go back and watch it.
I
It's
want to
been a
know
while.
why Baron is so like technological and like enhanced.
Because each house have their own planet, and they basically each have technologically like developed differently and have their own
Right.
cultures and ideologies. The Harkonnens are essentially built upon this like real industrial. I want to say mirrors that like brutal like communist regime type idea where everyone it's just you just work and you work and you work and you die. But also the Barons are also, they're like, that planet's technology is very based around like genetic sculpting and flesh sculpting.
Yeah, so they eat humans as well?
Implied, I think. I can't remember the exact. I think it's implied that like for them it's
But I think there's like an implied no limits is the main
the
thing.
implied no limits. correct.
They're willing to test or try anything, whereas other more noble houses will have like very specific limitations on what they're allowed to do, which makes them effectively weaker overall because they're not willing to go as far. But the good side of it,
The good guy bad guy plot is not like it's pretty black and white in the first Dune book. Like the first Dune book is pretty straightforward.
Right.
And it's only the subsequent books with the writers like, let's get abstract.
It's also like a combination of the time as well. When you're writing books, you're still talking about the generation where D&D, where people wouldn't let their kids read it because they thought the devil was going to come out of the book.
Right,
So it's like you can get black and white, but you can't go too far down a significant graphic level because people would get upset about it.
Yeah. That's okay. That's cool.
Speaking
that's
about
cool.
how like movies are becoming more of an event for people as well. Like in the past, if you ask people if like the blockbuster movies that made like the biggest successes in the cinemas were all 3-hour movies, no one would believe you, right? But you have like, I think Dune is a 3-hour movie.
What?
I think
Yeah.
Oppenheimer was 3 hours.
Avatar
Was 3 hours.
Lord of the Rings.
I think I don't know. I'm a big movie
Titanic,
lover.
is it?
If I'm going to go there and spend $40 on a ticket, I'll sit there for 6 hours. I didn't give a fuck.
Was
I'm on
Titanic
board.
a long
Yeah, it was.
movie?
I remember
Yeah.
Titanic being 2 DVDs when I was a kid. So,
Yeah. I haven't watched Oppenheimer yet, so probably I should.
because I'm a big movie lover. I love movies.
We could watch Oppenheimer together as a
I
podcast.
don't
Yeah.
want to watch Oppenheimer again.
What? Oh, is it no good?
I'm a big movie lover and I love my long movies, but I feel like Oppenheimer was a good movie, but it just wasn't paced very well. It's very like it's very documentary style of like, this is Oppenheimer, his life, and the drama comes from like the little bit of sort of drama he has with his other scientists. It's hard for me because I love long movies, but then right after I watched Oppenheimer, I watched. It's almost cliche to say that I like Martin Scorsese, right? Scorsese did Killers of the Flower Moon, which is a 3.5-hour movie, so it's even longer, but it's just paced so much better. And I watched Killers of the Flower Moon, and I wasn't tired after watching that movie because it's just the story was more engaging, just the communication was more fun, and like every single beat where you think the story was going to slow down a little bit, something new would come out and engage you right back in. Well, Oppenheimer as a movie is very clearly cut and dry, split in 3 parts. It's like his young life, his like working life, and his adult life, and then his like post like.
Does it feel like
life.
one of those movies where like it didn't really need to be a movie? Like it's like for the last 30, 40 years, it's been something that people learn in history class, and only for people that specifically want to learn about World War II
I
history.
think Nolan did a great job because once again, it's Christopher Nolan. He does an absolute amazing job with like cinematography and visuals. The movie honestly could have had a lot of parts cut out that doesn't need to be there. Like a lot of parts were there because he wants to stay true to the narrative story of things, but people that also just have more of a like, historical knowledge will just get way more out of it. So I know I talked to like Ellen, and like I don't know, I think she knows a little bit more of that context, so she loved it, right? So
Oh, interesting. I haven't watched it. Maybe.
I haven't watched Barbie.
Oh, no,
I'm gonna vote
that.
Barbie.
I don't know.
I know there's a certain actress's feet in there, so I don't know why I wouldn't go watch it. You know?
Tarantino, right? Every time a Tarantino movie shows up, it's like, whoop, who's gonna put in this time?
Oh dear.
All right, it's been an hour, gentlemen.
Oh,
How do we feel?
really?
Oh,
yeah, it's been an
crazy.
hour.
All right, we'll catch up the next episode.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. We're aiming to do this like every Wednesday. Honest, every Wednesday. I'll try to upload.
Certainly.
Keep it weekly.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Follow us. Follow.
All right. So we have
Subscribe.
We don't know what to yet, but you're gonna do it.
no one knows
subscribe.
who we are yet. Still.
It's okay. We're fun.
So find William on Eternal Magic and find Northern Boards at Northern Boards.
Wangara, WA.
All right. See you out later, guys. Take
ya.
care.
2.